Albi is one of my favorite towns in France. I love it for its architecture, for its food, its historical heritage. Now, when you go to Albi, two monuments stand out of its old quarter. First is a bridge. It's 1,000 years old, and that leads you to the cathedral, which is actually built out of brick, which is pretty unusual for that part of the world. Big churches, big cathedrals usually were built in stone, and building big cathedrals out of brick is more of a northern Baltic thing, right? Now, the cathedral stands as a monument of two things. It stands as a monument of the power of the Albicinian bishops, and it also signifies something. It signifies the victory and the power of the church over the Cathar heretics who dared to define the scripture back in the 13th century, having a stronghold hold down in the Landegarde area. Unfortunately, the church started a crusade against them, and the Cathar knights were exterminated and massacred as their strongholds fell one by one. 800 years later, we had another massacre on the roads leading to Albi. Team Ineos, the Terminators, and Team Deconic Quickstep massacred about 75% of the GC riders in the Tour de France, leaving them completely out for dead. Okay? Flat day. It was supposed to be a flat day. The next day was supposed to be a leisurely time off. Everybody was in a great position. I just praised all of these GC guys. We were going to have a fantastic Tour de France, which is still not over yet, but it's close. And this happens, right? I was literally mad on the road to Albi. Literally was going mad in front of the live coverage. And how did it happen? I mean, this has to go as one of the biggest debacles in the sport. I mean, I've been watching the Tour for 30 years, almost 30 years, right? And I have rarely seen such massacre on the flat stage other than cobbles. I mean, this has to go down as a director sportive complete debacle. I mean, the warning signs were there, right? The beginning of the stage, the first thing when you saw the coverage, wind, 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 wind. They kept telling the winds. The wind speed sustained was at 20 kilometers. There were gusts to 30 kilometers, changing direction all the time. I mean, that alone would be open terrain. That alone would be, director sportive drilling and drilling and drilling. Wind, 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 echelons, echelons, echelons will form. And it's not like the light switch was turned just like that. All right? Because at 50 kilometers to go, even at 60 kilometers to go, when that breakaway first went with, as predicted, CCC representation, Char, there's Confitis in there, Tony Galopin, nice to see him in a breakaway. Who else was there? Kasper Asgreen for De Koenig. No, he wasn't. Mats Wurst for Katusha, and Christian Elking for Wanty, right? So typical teams trying to get away in a suicide attack. So when they broke away, when they got towards that Category 3 climb, the last one, which actually came at 164, so 55K away from the finish, we already kind of knew that it was bad out there, right? And at the last climbs, the echelons actually formed in the peloton, and that should have been a complete warning to these guys, right? Who got cut out? Thibaut Pinot got cut out a few stages before to, again, to a split. This time he made it back. Nairo Quintana got caught in the P break a few stages ago. He got back. So it's just like, I just really don't know what the directors sportifs were doing. They should have been drilling, right? Wind, split, split. I mean, look at this. I mean, Rigoberto Urán, Thibaut Pinot, Jakob Fuglsang, Michael Landa, we'll talk about this in a second because he gets a pass. Richie Porte and Mollema all lose time, major time today. 1 minute and 40, right? Landa loses 2:10. So apparently, what went down is they were alert, right? FDJ, all these guys, EF Energy, Trek Segafredo, all these guys were alert and they were up towards the front. Apparently what the director sportif for Thibaut Pinot explained happened was that they were at 25 kilometers, there was apparently a roundabout. A lot of people, most of the peloton went in the front, went to the left, and apparently the guys that were protecting Thibaut Pinot went to the right and lost like 50 places in the peloton. And after after the roundabout, apparently the split happened, right? But still, oh my God, inexcusable. And what a job by Team Ineos. Usually the way I support and the way I watch is I support smaller teams, right? And I don't like Terminator teams like Team Ineos. And I really, the same thing with Banesto, with Miguel Indurain, the same team with Motorola, the same with, Astana to a certain degree, in Alberto Contador years, the same with U.S. Postal Service. I really don't like the Terminator teams, and I really believe in a salary cap that, should happen for the cycling teams as well. But I'm not really a supporter of a multiple big winners. They're winning all the time. They have all the control in the world. So I'm often pretty critical about Team Ineos and about other big teams, but you got to give it to them. They just really did it today. All right. At this very exact moment, they go on an attack. And who else rides with them? Quickstep rides with them. And Sunweb rides with them, and also Bora guys run with them. So, we predicted to be a pretty slow stage. We asked questions whether Bora and Sunweb will ride, try to drop some of the pure sprinters, but we absolutely never expected that this will be, happen, right? It turned out to be a huge GC day, right? So this was like a second completely unexpected GC day. I mean, the stage 3 when Alaphilippe attacked was also kind of a GC day, but oh my God, what happened today was just insane, right? What an incredible mistake by FTJ, by Pinot's team. Oh my God, right? So I guess good for Ineos and good for Quickstep. What happened to Landa was another thing. I mean, I'm excusing him because apparently what happened was Warren Barguil, the champion of France, touched wheels with the little yellow prince of France, Alaphilippe, and they touched wheels, and Warren Barguil was on the right and went towards the right to avoid the crash and kind of met Landa there, which he was forced to kind of like go off the road in a way to avoid the crash, and ended up in the grass amongst the spectators. By the time he remounted, he was already like 25, 30, 40 seconds behind, so he was in the third group ahead. This is why you saw Movistar dropping, right, except Quintana, dropping back to a third group to try to help to bring back Landa, right? So he kind of gets a pass. The initial break is still up front and gets very quickly pulled back because the guys now are riding up front. There was maybe about 40 guys left in the front group, right? The second group was formed by Pinot, by Astana with Fuguslang, with Richie Porte and Mollema, and all these guys were going 100% in. They get within 8 seconds of the first group, which is led by Kwiatkowski for Ineos. And, you know, at that point, I'm thinking, okay, it's over. It was a scare. But then it starts growing again. It was an 8-second gap. They pulled it back to 8 seconds. So exciting. And everybody thought, you know, okay, at least they're going to make it back. Landa might have some problems in the back, right? And, you know, the interesting thing was also George Bennett. George Bennett, the fourth on the classification, went back to get water, right? He goes back to the water just when a split happens, and he's actually unable to rejoin. This is how fast they were going, okay? So 8-second gap, and they don't make it, and it grows again, right? And by the time of the finish, 70% of the main GC favorites lose 1 minute and 40 seconds. Who made the split? Who can be happy today? Of course, it's a major victory for Ineos. Egan Bernal, Geraint Thomas are probably the winners of today. I just really don't see, you know, anybody really threaten them unless it's a major attack in the mountains, which I'm hoping for, right? You know, the problem right now becomes this, right? Let's look at the general classification here. This is the problem. GC. Okay. Geraint Thomas lies second behind Alaphilippe. He's at 1 minute and 12 seconds. But look what happens now. By the way, Adam Yates, great job, made the split, didn't lose too much. Same thing with Daniel Martin and Nairo Quintana. It's a good thing for them. Now, what I was pretty impressed with is how Bora actually kept their guys up front. So Emmanuel Buchmann is, you know, lies fifth right now, a GC guy from Bora. He's minute 45, 37 seconds behind Thomas. Daniel Martin is not too far. Nairo Quintana, the same. But look at Thibaut Pinot. Thibaut Pinot was 26 seconds ahead of Thomas. I just praised him yesterday because he was dipping into Thomas's time trial advantage. Look at this now. Thibaut Pinot, 2:33. So right now, Pinot is 1 minute and 20 behind, you know, behind Thomas. Look at the Rigoberto Urán. He's more than 2 minutes behind Thomas. Look at Jakob Fuglsang, 3:22. 3:22, 2 minutes and 10 seconds behind. Where are they going to find that time? Geraint Thomas has a time trial coming up. He's usually better than these guys in a time trial, so he extends his advantage. So barring a complete tragedy of Geraint Thomas, right? Complete loss of time, bad day in the high mountains. I mean, the guy is pretty much wrapped it up, right? Can't say that, but I mean, he made a huge step towards winning the Tour. Now, we still haven't tested anybody in the high mountains. Planchet de Belle was not a high mountain. It was 7 kilometers, more known for its steepness than its length. So we'll just have to see and wait. But this was a huge victory for them. Sprint finish, right? Very surprised again. Out of the sprinters who survived, Caleb Ewan was surviving. Viviani, I did not see that Viviani was initially in a split, but he made a split. So we had Ewing and Viviani out of the pure sprinters, and then we had Sagan, Matthew, Van Avermaet, right? All these guys in there. So I really thought that this was going to be Caleb Ewing's day, right? But there was one other person that made the split that was very, very, has already had a very good season, had a very good Tour de France. Van Aert from Lotto, right? His first Tour de France. And today he sprinted to victory, out sprinting Viviani. Pretty amazing. Congratulations. Lotto now has 1, 2, 3, 4 victories. 4 out of 10 stages were won by either, Jumbo. By Jumbo team, right? Or by Jumbo individual riders. Tunis, Gennewagen, Van Aert are all for one, right? So they won one stage each, and then the team wins another one. Pretty impressive. Gosh, the question now becomes, right? This is just getting a little bit more suspenseful. Definitely now, whether before I was not going to give advantage to Geraint Thomas or even Egan Bernal, now they have a huge advantage going into a time trial and then into a mountain. So the question is, what kind of a team, how is today change the team tactic, right? Is that going to open up the race early in the mountains, right? How are the teams that lost today are going to react on Perisode? Okay, how are they going to react on a Tourmalet, on a short stage, right? Are they going to go further ahead? Landa lost 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Where's Landa right now? Landa is 21st. He's 4 minutes and 15 seconds behind Alaphilippe and lies more than 3 minutes behind Geraint Thomas and Egan Bernal. A lot of time. So I'm expecting Landa now to get the joker position, right? And go out on attacks if he has energy, especially on that Tourmalet stage, on that first big mountain day. But he also may go earlier. He may go on that Perisode stage. So we'll just have to see. But I just, today was just amazing. What else we got? Okay, we covered this whole thing. Team directors. Early break. Sam Bennett. Steven Kruijswijk too, right? Where's Steven Kruijswijk in this whole thing? Now we talked about Jumbo having a lot of success in the Tour de France, right? With their fast men and their team. But Steven Kruijswijk made a split today. We haven't talked about him for a while. Another Jumbo-Visma man. He lies 1 minute and 27 behind Alaphilippe. He's a really good time trialist. And he is only 11 seconds behind Bernal. And he is 15 seconds behind Geraint Thomas. So another Steven Kruijswijk may have a great Tour de France. We'll just have to see in the mountains. Okay, what can I say to sum it up, right? Another incredibly unpredictable day in the Tour de France, right? Tomorrow we have a rest day. So I'm going to try to do different videos on summing up the first week of the tour. Also on what to expect for the second week of the tour. And on the team tactics a little bit. But it was just an incredible day today of racing. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the mountains. Especially in those first days in the Pyrenees. Okay guys, if you like the recap of stage 10, hit like. If you like the channel, I'm going to turn this into a full-time cycling channel. Please hit subscribe. Alright, and if you have any questions, if you have comments on today's stage, please let me know. I'm always happy to engage in a conversation. I'm curious what are your favorites, right, to win the stage. So yeah, just leave me a comment underneath. All right. Thanks, guys, and hopefully you watched today, and keep watching the highlights if you haven't watched. Yeah, it's been exciting. All right, thanks.